The small, crumbling house at the edge of the town echoed with the laughter and cries of 5 little children. Amid the noise, Kiara sat quietly on the worn-out floor, her eyes staring at the window as raindrops tapped gently against the glass. Her mind was far away, lost in the chaos of memories. Memories of a love that once promised her the world but ended up shattering her completely. Kiara had always been a simple girl. Her dark curls framed a face that radiated gentleness, and her soft voice could calm even the most restless child. Life had never given her luxury, but she had learned to find beauty in small things: a smile, a shared meal, a peaceful night. Yet, despite her innocence and sincerity, life had been cruel to her. Her husband, Darius, had once loved her passionately. He had whispered promises of forever, held her hand through hard days, and laughed at their shared dreams. But over time, the warmth in his eyes turned cold. His ambitions grew faster than his heart could hold, and soon Kiara's love felt too simple for him. He wanted wealth, a better life, and freedom from responsibilities. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Darius came home with a heavy silence. Kiara, holding her youngest baby in her arms, could sense something was wrong. He didn't look at her the way he used to. His voice, when he finally spoke, was empty of affection. "Kiara," he said coldly, "I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving." She froze, unable to breathe. "Leaving Darius? What do you mean?" "I'm tired of this life," he said. 5 children, no money, no peace. I need to live for myself now." Her eyes filled with tears as she tried to reach for his hand, but he pulled away. That night, Darius packed his clothes and walked out of their small home, leaving behind a woman who had given him everything, and 5 children would cry themselves to sleep, calling out for their father. The next morning, Kiara sat quietly, her face pale, her heart broken. Her neighbors pitied her, but no one stepped forward to help. Some whispered that she had failed as a wife, others said she had been foolish to marry young. But none of them knew the truth, that Kiara's only crime was loving too deeply. Days turned into weeks, and reality hit her hard. Feeding 5 hungry mouths with no job, no money, and no support felt impossible. She worked odd jobs, cleaning, washing clothes, even carrying bricks at a construction site. Every night her back ached, but she still smiled when her children hugged her. Her eldest son, Alik, barely 10, tried to help. He sold fruit on the streets after school. "Mama," he said one night, "don't cry. I'll grow up soon and take care of you." Those words kept Kiara going. She had no husband, no wealth, and no comfort. But she had her children, and they were her strength. But deep inside, a fear haunted her. How long could she survive this way? The world wasn't kind to poor women, especially single mothers. And soon, fate would test her again, harder than ever before. The days that followed Darius's departure were some of the darkest in Kiara's life. The once lively laughter of her home was now replaced with the soft cries of hungry children and the creaking of an empty kitchen shelf. There were nights when Kiara would sit by the window, watching the city lights flicker, wondering if her husband ever looked back or felt even an ounce of regret. She had no time to grieve, no luxury to rest. Her children needed her, and she would not let them see her break. Every morning, before the sun had fully risen, Kiara would wrap a scarf around her head, gently wake her eldest son, Malik, and head out to search for work. The neighborhood women would whisper as she walked past. Some pitied her. Others mocked her quietly. "That's the woman her husband left," they said. "Poor thing, raising 5 kids alone." But Kiara didn't let their words reach her heart. She was fighting a battle that only she could understand. She took any job she could find, cleaning floors, washing clothes, and cooking in rich people's homes. The pay was meager, but every coin mattered. One day, while cleaning in a large bungalow, Kiara overheard 2 maids talking. "Can you imagine?" one of them said. "Her husband left her and all those children. She should have begged him to stay." Kiara's heart clenched. She wanted to scream, to tell them that she had begged, but he had chosen to walk away. Instead, she kept silent and continued scrubbing the floor. That night, she returned home exhausted. Malik was helping the younger ones with their homework. When he saw his mother's tired face, he offered her a glass of water. "Mama, tomorrow I'll go look for more customers. Maybe I can earn more." Tears welled in her eyes, but she smiled and placed a hand on his head. "No, my son. You just study. That's all I want for you." Despite her strength, some days were unbearable. Rain poured through the holes in their tin roof, and Kiara would gather her children close, holding them tight as thunder roared outside. The food often ran out before the week ended. Some nights she went to bed hungry so her children could eat. One afternoon, Kiara fainted at work. The lady of the house, Mrs. Parker, called for water and looked at her with mild concern. "You should take better care of yourself," she said. "I can't have my maid collapsing here." Kiara apologized softly, her hands trembling. The woman handed her half a loaf of bread and dismissed her for the day. It wasn't kindness, it was pity. But Kiara still said thank you and left with her head bowed. That evening, she shared the bread with her children. Her youngest daughter, Amira, smiled as she ate. "Mama, this is so yummy," she said innocently. Kiara laughed quietly, even though her own stomach ached. Weeks passed, and slowly Kiara started to gain the trust of the people she worked for. One old woman, Mrs. Simmons, noticed Kiara's honesty and offered her a stable cleaning job. "You remind me of my daughter," she said. "Come every day. I'll pay you weekly." For the first time in months, Kiara felt a tiny spark of hope. She worked hard, harder than anyone else. Her hands were rough, her body thin, but her spirit was unbreakable. Each evening, when she returned home, her children would run to hug her, and she'd forget all her pain. But even as life began to steady, fate wasn't done testing her. One night, Malik fell sick with a high fever. Kiara stayed up all night, fanning him, praying softly. The next morning, she ran from clinic to clinic, begging for help. Medicine costs money. One doctor said coldly, "I'll pay," Kiara pleaded. "Just please help my son." She sold her only gold earring, a keepsake from her mother, to buy medicine, watching Malik's fever break days later. She cried silently with relief. The world had taken so much from her: love, comfort, security. But Kiara had something stronger than all of that. She had a mother's heart, and slowly her story was about to turn from one of pain to one of strength. Months passed, and though life remained tough, Kiara had learned how to survive. Her body had grown used to the long walks, the endless scrubbing, and the weight of fatigue that clung to her like a shadow. But more than that, her heart had grown stronger. Every tear she had shed had turned into quiet determination. One morning, while she was sweeping the yard outside Mrs. Simmons's house, an expensive car stopped in front of the gate. A young man stepped out, carrying files and a briefcase. He looked like someone important, calm, serious, and focused. "Good morning, ma'am." He greeted Mrs. Simmons, who had just stepped out to the porch. "Ah, Mr. Jordan." Mrs. Simmons smiled warmly. "This is my son I told you about, Kiara." Kiara quickly wiped her hands on her apron and nodded politely. "Good morning, sir." Jordan gave a small smile. "Good morning. You work for my mother." "Yes, sir," Kiara replied softly. Mrs. Simmons chimed in. "She's the most hard-working woman I've ever seen. Always on time, always honest." Jordan nodded appreciatively, and for a brief moment Kiara felt seen, not as a maid or a poor widow, but as a person. Over the next few weeks, Jordan would often visit. Sometimes he'd find Kiara tending to the garden or helping Mrs. Simmons with chores. He was quiet but observant, and though he never said much, always greeted her respectfully. One evening, while Kiara was about to leave, Mrs. Simmons stopped her. "Kiara, my son has been looking for someone to help at his office with cleaning and tea service. It's a better job, more pay, and indoors. Would you like it?" Kiara's eyes widened. She could hardly believe what she had heard. "Me work in an office." Mrs. Simmons smiled. "Yes, dear. You've earned it." Kiara held back tears and nodded. "Thank you, ma'am. I won't disappoint you." The next week, Kiara stepped into the office, a tall building with glass walls and bright lights. She wore her cleanest clothes and a nervous smile. Everything felt strange. The smell of coffee, the sound of keyboards, the chatter of people dressed in neat suits. Jordan greeted her at the entrance. "Welcome, Kiara. Don't worry, you'll get used to it." He showed her around and explained her tasks. Those simple cleaning desks, organizing files, serving tea, the respect with which he spoke made her feel human again. No one shouted at her. No one mocked her dot at lunch. Kiara sat quietly in a corner, eating the bread she had brought from home. Some employees whispered about her, but she ignored them. She was used to whispers. After her shift, she collected her pay envelope, and for the first time it was more than she had ever earned. She walked home that evening with light in her eyes. When she reached home, her children ran to her as always. Malik noticed the joy on her face. "Mama, what happened? You look happy." Kiara knelt and hugged them all. "I got a better job, my loves. Things will get better from now on." But days turned into weeks, and soon Kiara's life began to transform. She saved carefully every little bit she could. She fixed the leaky roof, bought better clothes for her children, even managed to send them to a small school nearby. Malik excelled quickly, becoming one of the top students in his class. His teachers often praised his manners and discipline. Kiara's heart swelled with pride each time she heard his name mentioned. But not everyone was happy for her. Some neighbors grew jealous. "Look at her," one said, "acting like she's rich now." Kiara didn't respond. She had learned to let bitterness pass her by. Her focus was on her children and their future at work. Jordan continued to notice her diligence. One evening, he called her into his office. "Kiara, I wanted to tell you, you've been doing a great job. Everyone here appreciates your work. You've brought a sense of peace to this place." Kiara blushed slightly and lowered her gaze. "Thank you, sir. I just do what I can." Jordan smiled. "And that's exactly why you'll go far." For the first time in years, Kiara allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, life wasn't only about pain and loss. Perhaps it was about growth too. That night, as she lay beside her sleeping children, she whispered softly, "We're getting there, my loves. Step by step." But as life often does, just when things begin to bloom, the wind of fate stirs again. Little did Kiara know that a shadow from her past was about to return, and this time, it would test not her strength, but her forgiveness. 2 years had passed since Kiara began her job at Jordan's company. Life had transformed in ways she once thought impossible. Her children were thriving in school. Malik, now almost a teenager, often helped his younger siblings with their lessons. Their home, though small, was filled with laughter again. Kiara had even bought a sewing machine, which she used at night to earn extra income. Her life was finally stable, peaceful, until one stormy evening. A knock came at the door. Kiara wiped her hands and opened it, expecting one of her neighbors. Instead, she froze. Standing before her was a man she once knew better than anyone, her ex-husband Raymond. His face was pale, his clothes torn, and his eyes hollow. "Kiara," he whispered, "please let me in." Her heart pounded. Memories rushed back, his harsh words, the night he left her, the cries of her children. She wanted to slam the door shut, but something inside her stopped her hand. She stepped aside silently. "Come in." Raymond limped inside and sank into a chair. He looked much older than his years, his confidence replaced by regret. "I heard about you," he said quietly. "Everyone talks about how you turned your life around. You and the kids. You did well." Kiara folded her arms. "We did what we had to do. You left us with no choice." He lowered his gaze. "I know I was a fool. I followed people who didn't care about me. My second wife took everything, my money, my respect, and then left me too. I have nothing, Kiara. No home, no job." She felt a sharp ache in her chest. Once she had begged this same man to stay. Now he sat before her, broken. "I came to ask for forgiveness," he continued. "Not to stay. I just can't live with this guilt anymore." The room fell silent. The children peeked from the doorway, unsure of what was happening. Malik stepped forward. "Mama, who is he?" Kiara's throat tightened. "He's your father." The boy frowned. The man who left us? Raymond looked down, shame covering his face. I don't expect you to forgive me, son. I just wanted to see you once. Kiara looked at her children, the same children who had gone to bed hungry, who had walked barefoot in the cold, who had watched her cry in silence. And then she looked at the man who had caused it all. A storm raged in her heart, anger, sorrow, and pity, fighting for space. She wanted to scream, to ask why. But she had learned something over these years of struggle. Revenge doesn't always heal. Sometimes forgiveness does. You hurt me, Raymond, she said softly. You broke our family. But I won't hate you. I don't have room for hate anymore. His eyes widened in disbelief. You forgive me. I forgive you, she said. But that doesn't mean I forget. You'll have to live with what you did, and so will I. But I refuse to let your mistakes poison my soul. Tears streamed down his cheeks. You're stronger than I ever was, Kiara. I wish I'd seen that before. Kiara nodded slowly. We've all changed. Life has a way of teaching us what matters. She handed him a small envelope. A few dollars she had saved. Here, it's not much, but it might help you find a place to stay tonight. He hesitated. I can't take this. After everything, take it, she insisted. You're still the father of my children. For a long moment, he just looked at her, speechless. Then he took the envelope, stood, and said quietly, I don't deserve your kindness, Kiara, but thank you. As he walked away into the dark rain, Kiara closed the door and leaned against it, trembling. Malik came closer. Mama, why did you help him after all he did? She smiled faintly, though tears shone in her eyes. Because, my son, if we keep hate in our hearts, we never move forward. I wanted to end this story with peace, not pain. The next morning, Kiara woke early, opened the window, and let the golden sunlight spill in. She watched her children getting ready for school, their laughter filling the room. And she felt a calm she hadn't known before. She realized that her struggle had made her strong. Her pain had made her wise, and her forgiveness had set her free at work. Jordan noticed her peaceful expression. You look different today, he said. Everything all right? Kiara smiled. Yes, sir. Everything's finally all right. He nodded approvingly. You know, Kiara, you're a reminder that no matter how hard life gets, people can rise again if they have heart. That evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Kiara sat outside her small house, sewing clothes while her children played nearby. She looked up at the sky and whispered softly, Thank you, God, for giving me pain so I could learn strength, for giving me loss so I could learn love, for giving me betrayal so I could learn forgiveness. A gentle wind brushed her face, and for the first time in many years, Kiara smiled not with fear or sorrow, but with freedom.